If you are having trouble accessing this training module, contact the Chief Privacy Officer at privacy@uvm.edu or call the Office of Compliance and Privacy Services at 802-656-3086. You can also contact UVM's ADA 504 coordinator at accessibility@uvm.edu or by calling 802-656-0945. Otherwise, let's begin. Hi, my name is Tessa Lucy, and I am the Compliance and Privacy Officer here at the University of Vermont. We have developed this training module to help you understand the importance of safeguarding NPPD while teleworking, working remotely, or otherwise working outside of a UVM facility or location. In this training video, we will also provide you with some best practices on how to best safeguard the information that we have all been entrusted with. You might be asking yourself, what is NPPD? Well, NPPD is a UVM term that means non-public protected data. It includes personal data, protected health information, protected student information, and protected library records. NPPD includes information in any format, whether it's electronic, recorded, hard copy, or verbal. It includes information that UVM has determined is confidential and must be kept private. It includes controlled unclassified information, or CUI, that the federal government has identified as requiring special handling. It includes non-public information, or NPI, which is primarily financial information. It's going to encompass personal data, or PD, as specified under the General Data Protection Regulations, or GDPR, and personally identifiable information, or PI, as defined under Vermont state law. NPPD includes data elements such as name, address, social security number, date of birth, financial account number, login credentials, biometric information, driver's license and passport numbers, research data, health information, employment information, student record data. The list goes on and on. Basically, if you have information that relates to an individual, or if you have information that has been identified as confidential or sensitive by a government agency or by the university, it's going to be NPPD and it needs to be safeguarded. Similarly, the location of the information doesn't matter either. Whether you are accessing it from your UVM office or if you're accessing it from home or from another location, these laws and UVM policy apply. Side note, if your remote location is outside of the state of Vermont or is in another country, including Canada, make sure that you have approval from your vice president, dean, or other senior leader, and make sure you have been cleared by payroll and tax services to work in an out-of-Vermont location before performing work. If you are ever not sure whether you are working with NPPD or not, speak to your manager or supervisor or contact my office at privacy@uvm.edu. One key concept to maintain the privacy of NPPD is that accessing or using NPPD outside the scope of your job duties is a violation of university policy and could also be a violation of the law. There is a concept of can versus should that we all must be aware of. Just because you can access NPPD does not mean you should. If it's for a work-related purpose and it's part of your job responsibilities to do so, that's not a problem. But don't access information unless it's part of your job, don't use it unless it's part of your job, and don't ever disclose it unless it's part of your job. Here are some tips that can secure NPPD and help maintain the highest level of confidentiality. These tips should also be used when you are working on-site, but they become more critical when you are working remotely. Make sure your work area is private, quiet, and make sure that you limit access, especially when you're having confidential conversations in meetings. Put your devices to sleep and log out whenever you walk away. Make sure you have a password-protected screensaver that requires a login to get back into your device. Keep screens that contain sensitive information out of the view of others. Get a privacy shield for your screens to prevent someone from seeing what you're working on. Do not make extra electronic copies of data. Do not download or copy files that contain NPPD unless it's absolutely necessary for your job. When you're done with it, make sure it's not just deleted, but that it's completely destroyed. Don't just hit delete, but also empty your device's trash bucket. If you are authorized to send NPPD to others via email, fax, or other electronic means, and sending it is necessary, verify email addresses or fax numbers prior to sending. Use a secure file transfer service whenever sending NPPD via email. These safeguards are not just for devices or electronic NPPD, it also applies to paper and verbal conversations. As it relates to verbal conversations, if you're working from home, make sure that you're in a private space where you can close the door and that others cannot overhear you. It helps to use headphones or earbuds so that others cannot hear the other side of the conversation, and to use a sound machine outside your door to make it harder for others to hear you. Try to always avoid working in a public area. If you must, and you find yourself in an internet cafe, in an airport, in a shared space or other public area, do not have confidential conversations, period. Go out to your car or find a safe, secure, private space before having those conversations. And remember to use a privacy shield so that others cannot see any NPPD on your screen. When it comes to paper, don't print out documents that have NPPD unless it's within the scope of your job. If you do need to print something out, make sure it stays within your control at all times. Take care not to leave papers lying around or leave sensitive or confidential information behind. And if you must work with hard copy NPPD, make sure that you're securing it. Store it in a locked file cabinet or a locked drawer that is only accessible by you or others who are authorized. When you're done with it, make sure it's not just thrown away, but that it's completely destroyed. Shred papers, don't just throw them in the trash. I have seen the backside of a printout that contains sensitive personal information recycled and used for scrap paper. I have seen reports with lab test results left on cafeteria tables, and reports including Social Security numbers thrown in the trash that end up being blown around outside. The stories are endless. It is very important that NPPD is not being printed unless it's absolutely necessary, and if it is necessary, you must keep it in your personal control from the time it's printed until the time it's destroyed or otherwise passed along to another authorized individual. Here are some additional best practices. It's important to keep in mind that these are also UVM policy requirements, so they are not optional. Take extra care when recycling devices or getting rid of them. Make sure hard drives are completely wiped. Make sure you use a strong password. Don't use something that's easy to crack. Things like 1234 or using the word password are all easy to guess and should never be used. Similarly, don't write your password down somewhere where it can be found. Don't write it on a sticky note and stick it under your keyboard. Don't save your passwords to an unencrypted device or a device that doesn't itself have a password. Don't share your password with anyone, not even with your colleagues or with your supervisor. If you use a laptop or other device that is shared by someone else, and that device connects to files or email that contain NPPD, this includes personal use by a spouse, partner, child, or anyone else not affiliated with UVM, think twice. If you don't have a separate login or a way to prevent those non-authorized individuals from opening or viewing NPPD, you may be violating any number of privacy laws without even realizing it. Always log out when you're done, and set your device to sleep after 5 minutes of inactivity. Make sure you have it set to require a password when logging back in. Report strange activity. If you see something strange, report it. If your computer or other device is acting weird, let someone know. It could contain malware. If the data that you routinely work with suddenly looks wrong, let someone know. It could be that it's been inappropriately altered. Be sensitive to the rights of others. Remember that Vermont is a small state. People know each other. Even if you don't think it would bother you if certain information was disclosed inappropriately, someone else might think it's not okay. Remember, it's what the individual wants, not what you want. Don't let curiosity get the best of you. And lastly, recognize that there are bad actors actively trying to get this information. Report known violations to your manager or supervisor immediately. Similarly, if you feel like you made a mistake, or if you did something and are now having second thoughts whether it was okay to do, report that immediately as well. You can also report violations or mistakes directly to my office at privacy@uvm.edu. You can file a report through our website at www.uvm.edu/compliance/privacy-reporting, or through the Compliance and Ethics Reporting and Helpline at www.uvm.edu/compliance/helpline. Mistakes are mistakes, but there are bad actors out there trying to steal NPPD, and they will use any chance they get. If you take these simple steps, the risk of a breach is greatly diminished. If you think you may have made a mistake, don't be embarrassed, but let somebody know. The sooner the right people know about it, the greater the likelihood is that we can fix it. Let someone know as soon as possible if you think any NPPD has been breached, lost, stolen, altered, or inappropriately accessed, used, or disclosed. Contact your manager or supervisor if you're not certain whether something is protected or not. As always, you can email privacy@uvm.edu whenever it's unclear. Thank you for watching this video and for recognizing the awesome responsibility that we all have to safeguard NPPD.